I'm sorry. I'm just putting the show back together after 2 weeks off. There we go. That does it. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Dead Air Full Spectrum. And this is Dead Air Live, our Sunday night show. We are simulcast with KGRADB.com, KGRA on Facebook, and on YouTube. We are, in 2023, the tip of the spear in the paranormal investigation field. We are so happy to have you guys join us tonight. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also, thumbs up for the content, including tonight's fantastic show, and the reminder bell for upcoming content here on this channel, as well as the other shows that we'll be talking about a little bit later on. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, Mr. Ken DeCosta up in Rhode Island. And Ken, how were your holidays? Everything was good?
Everything was good. I had hoping I didn't forget how to do this show. It was we're getting a little lazy from the recliner, opening gifts and spreading joy and cheer, and now we're back, right?
Yeah. Well, here in Florida, it's not. I mean, yes, here we are, always wishing we had more of a northern Christmas here in Florida, and we were at 26 degrees, 25 degrees, 2 nights in a row, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I'm not going to complain because of what people up north had to deal with, especially Buffalo. But it was too cold. You couldn't enjoy anything. It was you couldn't go out, with your flip flops. You had to put socks on. Yeah, one of our guests tonight, Erin Bush, she can empathize. She's down here in Florida. It's a struggle. It is constantly an ongoing struggle.
Yeah, we had a San Francisco Christmas here in Rhode Island. It rained sideways. It was windy, and so foggy. It was kind of a West Coast Christmas.
Well, we're gonna try to give you guys some more presents tonight in the form of paranormal evidence. We are recapping the lab investigation that was just before the holidays done at the Paine house in Rhode Island, Coventry, Ken.
Coventry, yes, sir.
And I had a chance to go a couple of times and visit this location. It's a credible location, and our guests tonight too are those who were investigating in front of and behind the camera. Are going to be joining us tonight to talk topic and their experiences. But Ken, what I wanted to do is leave it to you. But before we go any further, we should bring on the two experiencers that we had during the live investigation. And for myself, because I was so busy navigating everything, I didn't get a chance to really focus on what y'all were doing. So this is going to be my time to experience also. But I turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Android, for your donation. Yeah, on December 18th, we did something a little bit different for the show. We got another surprise for you later. But we did a live investigation of a place that we have been around and visited for the last 11 years. So we've talked about it a lot on the show. So we wanted to bring it to you folks to see what all the hubbub is about. And we had a really, really great night there. So without further ado, let's bring in two more moderators from that night and get their take on this. Erin Bush and Bill Forte.
Hey.
Hi,
welcome back.
Hey, folks, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing fine, Erin. Your hair looks a little frizzy this week. Does it have to do with the Florida humidity?
Would there's no amount of product that can tame the frizz.
We were talking to,
and that's where we are.
We were talking to Bill, actually.
Yeah, Bill needs to step up his products, apparently. Control that frizz.
Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy New Year.
2023. Oh my goodness.
Erin and I, and of course George were here when you guys were doing the investigation. But how much did you guys get that we're not aware of?
There's probably a couple of things you're not aware of, and there are probably some things that are going to jog your memory. But when you're in the moment, a lot of times you don't get to analyze it because you're moving on to the next thing. So we hope tonight we're going to slow this down a little bit, and the clips that we've chosen are things that are going to spur some discussion, because some of the things that we do with our next guests we're going to bring on is to try to answer questions that typically we have always had since we've been doing this type of thing.
Oh, Cody.
So a little bit at a time, we take bites out of that. So we have some things that are going to play into maybe some of the norms that we think and the theories that we think about the paranormal that may change your mind on those. So I'm anxious to get to those and see what everybody else thinks out there as well.
Yeah.
We're ready for it. Erin, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All reactions are real and live. So I want you guys to understand that none of this has been rehearsed whatsoever.
No.
But Ken, it's Rise Up Paranormal. It's not Ken DaCosta Investigations. So you have some other people who are more than capable of carrying this investigation. They do a fantastic job, and why don't you bring them on board with us?
Yeah. First guest is someone who's been with me for the last 11 years, and I am so glad to have her on tonight because she is constantly behind the camera and is responsible for so much, if not pretty much 99% of the things we bring on there. It's our camera person extraordinaire, Julie Demay from Rise Up Paranormal, coming to us live from Middleborough, Massachusetts.
Hi, Julie.
Actually, Dedham.
Hey, Julie.
Julie, you are the pulse of Rise Up Paranormal. You are the heartbeat of that organization. And just want to let you know, no, regardless of what Ken thinks of himself, you are the tip of the spear.
No, I think there's one piece of the puzzle.
Oh.
It takes all of us to make Rise Up as good as we are.
Ooh. I couldn't have said that better myself. And our next guests were with us, as Julie was. And I got to say, Cody just kicked in $1.99 to us right now. So
Shout out.
I'm going to give him a shout out for that. But you're going to see a lot more of them tonight. And you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions of them, as you will all of us, but to get their take on some of the things that they look back on, because we're all in the moment here, and it's only later on when we get to review things that we really get a chance to think about it. So probably a couple that needs no introduction, so we won't give them one anyway. Let's bring them on. Cody and Satori are with us tonight.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
There you go.
The paranormal couple in the house. And, we appreciate you guys taking the time. I know you're going to be stepping away from Dead Air Full Spectrum very, very shortly here in a week or two. And we would like to say it's been crazy wonderful working with you guys, but we know that your star is rising, and somewhere along the way you will leave us in the dust, and we understand that part of it. But anytime we can grab you on now, we appreciate it.
I already spent $1.99. I got a flashlight.
I hate that.
Thank you, Amazon. They delivered that quick.
Wow.
Well, Cody is stepping. Cody, before we get into it, why don't you tell everybody, exactly why you're kind of stepping away from the camera a little bit and give everybody a chance to understand what's going on here.
He's got a pilot, doesn't he? He's got a friggin' pilot.
No, I've just had enough of you people. That's it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's our show for tonight.
No,
See you next time.
I have to have my hip replaced, believe it or not. So,
Wow.
As many of you know, I had cancer in 2011, and with that comes a lot of post complications after treatment. So a lot of people who go through radiation and chemotherapy, they end up having trouble with their bones, especially if they have full body radiation. Depending on how much you have and depending on how sensitive you are to it, it can really affect your joints and bones. So I eventually have to have both hips replaced, but I guess the left one is pretty bad. So they want to do that one right away. They told me not to jump around, so I'm not jumping around. I'm sitting low and relaxing until they get this done, and then
It shouldn't be too long of a recovery. I mean, you're going to be up and moving.
Yeah. So get that out of the way and get ready for the new year.
Hey, where are you tonight, by the way?
We are in her dad's office.
We
kind of
are.
broke in.
It looks
I knew that looked
familiar. We stole it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
You never know we're here, so don't share us.
You could.
I was going to say, it's Jason doesn't know they're there. They don't know they have a key for the place. So.
You guys could eBay the hell out of that room. You realize that right now.
By the way, Cody, a lot of people in the chat room, as well as all of us, wish you speedy recovery and the best to you and Satori during this period in your life.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill. And thanks everybody else. I'm sure it's going to be. I hear hips are a lot easier to do than the other joints, so I'm glad that's what has to be done. If I had to pick, I'd pick a hip. So,
Satori, you make sure you got to play the game. After each surgery, the Cody tipping game.
Oh yeah. Oh
Nice.
yeah. I'll be torturing him until he's up and moving again. I think he's going to be too stubborn to be resting up like he says he's going to. So
While we're talking about maladies, I also want to send best wishes to my wife downstairs who broke her foot
Unbelievable.
Friday
What?
in 4 places.
Wow.
what?
How?
Mary Lou Retton slipped on the last stair coming down stairs the other day, and so we're going to have her see a specialist. But hon, I know you're watching right now, so
unbelievable.
Feel better.
feeling energy to you. We're all with 2023. Woo, we're on our way.
Dawn, let me see something. Dawn, somewhere in the house, Ken still has the hidden Onyx moonshine. A couple of hits of that. Trust me, I've tried it. So, all right, let's move on with the show. We've delayed long enough, and we've got a lot to cover, Ken.
We do. So when you guys are ready, we'll dig right into it. These are some clips. Most of these were taken by Julie. So this is a little bit different angle of some of the things that you saw during the broadcast. So I thought I'd start out, first of all, because it was Christmas time. One of the questions that was asked of Sarah Whipplestone, who has been just so welcoming and so wonderful to us to share her family's history. We asked a little bit about what was her favorite holiday. So here's our first clip.
Let's see. Is there anything else we can ask everybody? Do you have any other ideas on which?
Did she like entertaining in the house?
Did you like entertaining? The magic box asks. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did she have a favorite time of year or event that she liked to host, like Christmas parties or?
What was your favorite event or holiday or anything to host? Okay. I'm gonna start.
Ask if she would get excited when guests would come and look out her window.
All right. Yeah, Christmas was her favorite holiday.
Okay, there's Bill jumping the gun there a little bit. But she was obviously about to spell out Christmas time. So that was wonderful that we just happened to hit it just right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the other thing is, and you'll hear a little bit more of this, where Erin, Bill, George, at some point were asking questions remotely on the microphone. And sometimes, Satori would have to repeat them. But for the most part, you heard them say at some point, it's like, go ahead and ask. And they were absolutely responsive to you remotely as they were to everyone else there live.
Yeah. And it just follows suit before this discovery or rediscovery, what Cody and Satori are doing. We've always had that constant in the field, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong in regards to this, or Julie, that people have always talked about during a holiday time frame an increase in paranormal activity, as if the family has come back to celebrate the holiday with them. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. And I think we've all probably talked about anniversary dates in terms of hauntings and activity that sometimes, whether it's a date of death or it's a seminal moment in somebody's life, that those things tend to happen on that particular date. Not all the time, but certainly enough that we pay attention to it.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. What's the next one for us, sir?
Yeah, we were continuing in that vein, Cody and Satori, and we'll get their thoughts on this too. So they followed through on sort of that theme with Christmas. And the next thing is, what did you like to cook? Because we know that Mrs. Stone was the matron of the house, and though she had some help, she was very hands-on in that regard. So what did you like to cook? And this may surprise some of you, but don't forget, this is the 1800s now. So here we go.
Ooh, did you have a favorite meal that you would cook?
Good question.
Yes. What was that? That was a very loud yes. What was it? I'll spell it. Ready? A, B, B, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, R, A, B, C, D, E, bread.
You like making bread? Okay, that's nice. Did you make it with the oven on the side of the fireplace there?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have anything else? Like maybe around Christmas time? You said you love Christmas time. Is there something that you love to cook at Christmas?
Okay. A, B, B, A, B, C, D. She said bread again. E, F, G,
No, it was Z.
E.
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E, E, B, E, E.
Beef. Beef? Oh,
Oh, you'd make
that was
beef.
Christmas special. Beef.
Wow, fancy.
That's wonderful.
Beets, not my favorite thing. Oh God. I guess, I don't know. Who knows anything about that? I guess because of the sweetness, they were a treat or something. I don't know. Beets. Okay.
No, it was beef. They said beef
A cow can.
with an F.
Beef. Like a roast.
Ooh.
Ooh.
It's what's for dinner, beef, No, it's again, it's tantalizing to me to have that dialogue that goes on, and it's a throwback, and I know I'm turning it back around to things that I can experience or have experienced. One of the things we did once was ask a spirit, what did you miss most from your life? And the answer was my mirror. And at the time, I'm like, I don't understand. But then it made sense. Human vanity, being able to look in the mirror, if it was a routine of theirs to put on makeup that day and get themselves ready with their jewelry and their clothing, that they missed being able to see the reflection. Kind of was sad in the sense that came about from that. Let me ask you, Cody Satori, has something come about so far in your dialogue with these different spirits that have made you kind of go, oh, I feel bad?
That's a good question.
I think the confusion over some technology, I think, kind of makes me feel bad, because sometimes they get intimidated and we have to describe to them how it works, or sometimes
That happened at the Paine house.
the Paine house phones. Actually, one of our favorite moments, I don't know if you're going to play it, was when we were describing how everybody has this phone, this box that you can talk to anybody in the world with in real time. And I think the spirits were a little confused when Jacqueline, the owner of the Conjuring house, held hers up, and they had a really funny comment for her. I believe Julie was with us upstairs too when that happened, which was really funny. But sometimes they get confused or intimidated, so I kind of feel bad about that.
Yeah, I do, and sometimes you come across, a spirit that definitely misses a physical item. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
and you do feel bad for them because the item is no longer in their house because there's different family living there now, and unfortunately, us dealing with the museum, we run into this problem a lot where individuals' items end up in secondhand stores, and new people end up owning them, and we find out the spirits don't like the new people that own their objects, and that's when activity starts to stir up. So you do feel bad for them in a sense that way when they're missing something and they don't have it anymore. We do come across that from time to time, especially with the museum, and it is something that we can't really help with. I mean, it's not like we can go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, I need a brush back, that you bought it. We look like nuts. So you do feel bad. You do.
But for both of you, I mean, if let's say you go to a location and it's a recurring engagement, say for example with Sarah, and it becomes more personable, where it's more an exchange of getting to know who this person is with the details of their life, and then it's like you establish like some sort of relationship, kinda. And isn't it difficult for both of you to step away from that because it gets a little bit on the personal side of engaging with someone that's trying to engage with both of you? And like George was saying, it's like an awe moment, and it's like when you guys are leaving, it's like, wow, I wonder how what that spirit feels about when you both leave the presence of that house, and they're looking forward to you possibly coming back to be there again.
I've cried a little bit because we've made friends and we haven't seen them in a while, and I feel bad because they, for all they know, we were going to be coming back and things just didn't work out. So I think you do make a lot of friends on the other side, and then you feel really bad.
Sometimes they put some weight on our shoulders too, because a lot of times when we communicate, and I know Ken and Jules will know this just as well as I do, and even Erin, I think Erin was there for a couple of these where they want to give messages to individuals that are still alive. And they're kind of telling us to kind of pass this message along, and sometimes it puts us in a difficult spot when we don't know who these people are at all. Like, we've never met them, and we have no direct connection to them except for the spirit. So sometimes that can be tough.
Well, I want to ask. I want Julie to interject in this too, because we're discovering this. Rise Up is discovering this, and I think people should be a little bit more cognizant when they're investigating about this possibility that you're in the Paine house, and the mindset, unfortunately, where individuals is this is where they are, this is where they live. We've seen examples that they could, at a speed of a thought, jump to somewhere else. And even in the case where, Julie, you've been there and you've had family come to visit, even during this live investigation, you had family come to visit. Are they stuck there? And we'll get to that. Ken's got a clip for that, in the sense that they can't go to visit anywhere else. They can't visit Julie at her home. Sarah can't visit Cody and Satori in their home. What's your thoughts on that, Julie?
I believe they follow you around. Now, we don't have Cody and Satori at my house, so I can't maybe talk to my brother directly. So, but I believe there's weird stuff at my house where I hear noises in other rooms, and if my brother was going to bother me, that's what he would do.
Right.
So I honestly believe when you have Cody and Satori there is a direct connection. And when I've asked questions where he's come through on several occasions, and again, very surprising, but I believe they follow you around.
Yeah.
Well, we've been told through them that at one point, I know Sarah Whipple said through Cody and Satori, "Finally, you can hear me." So, I mean, what that means is they can always hear us. It's just that they have a profound method and gift of in the moment being able to speak. But on the other hand, I think that we have to understand that they can hear us. We may not have that gift. And when that time comes that they do come back, of course, they're excited, and they'll tell you that a lot of times when they open it up, there's like bangs all over they're like lining up in queue to like, ooh, me first. Mm-hmm. But what it leaves us with is that it's not silly at all to walk into a place and essentially say to nothing but thin air, "Hello.
Right.
I am back again. It's great to be here," because, I'm completely convinced, even though they may not have the two-way communication, they can absolutely hear what we're saying, at all times. So that's kind of comforting to know that this has been time well spent. And when we're building a relationship with these people and these locations, it definitely is building something. It's not just for nothing.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with both of you, and Satori and I, we can only speak from experience, but after doing this, I don't even know how many times now at different locations, I definitely believe, at least from what they've told us, that we haven't come across a spirit that has said that they're stuck anywhere. We have come across once in a while a spirit that was lost and was in the wrong house from time to time, but none that was asking, for help from us to get out of a place.
Yeah.
Because they've been stuck here for years, and that doesn't say we're not saying that doesn't exist. We just haven't come across it.
And also, what Ken said, they hear everything. That is 100% true. And also, for anybody watching, they see everything too. And we found that out because we've had spirits come through and ask us, why was this person dancing around really weird earlier? Or what was this deal with this person?
What's his problem?
Yeah, why is this person doing this? They see everything and they're very curious. So they're always around.
I'm curious, and we've got a lot to cover, but this is Ken's plan from the beginning, was that these clips and these particular pieces of evidence would strike up these conversations. But now, putting a challenge to your talents as Cody and Satori, doing these communications, the knocking communications, testing its remote capability, whether it's in the same building. In other words, you're on second floor and you say, can you tap on the floor next to Ken or Julie on the first floor? Or to such an extreme, can you rap on the wall at George's house, who's all the way down in Florida? Testing the limits or the capabilities of what it is that they can do and how they can do it. Or do they still need to be within that certain dome or bubble surrounding the two of you? I'd be curious to see how that works out.
I would too. I would love to meet another couple or another person that's able to do this as well, and see if that ever comes up someday, and we ever do run across another couple that's able to do this, or another person that's just able to do this by themselves, if that can work, if you can, have those type of communications from the other side of the globe. You know what I mean? So,
well, we've had them cross country. So
yes, we have.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
We had an issue over Halloween where we were at the farm, and we had an issue where one of those spirits was in North Carolina talking to another sensitive. So we had it crossing from Rhode Island to North Carolina in the same evening, and we were seeing him all interacting with this spirit all weekend. He was hopping between. So he was at my house when I got home just to be like, hello, So it does seem like they can travel, move around. If you're talking multi-dimensional type beings, which they are at this point, they don't seem to be bound by anything.
No, and we did a legendary experiment with the Rolling Hills Asylum where we did Spirit Box, Frank's Box sessions, where spirits traveled from here in Florida to Rolling Hills and spirits from Rolling Hills back down to Florida. And it was an interesting dialogue back and forth. But this is whole next level with what these two individuals are doing. The paranormal couple instantly making a gratifying response with the spirits to a particular person, not in the same location. Would be interesting to see if we can make that happen.
I just got to chime in. Cody and Satori, when you go home after, say, an investigation like you just did at the Paine house, do you ever go home and say, let's try it at home and see if we can communicate with anyone that we were just at the home with, like Sarah or someone else? Like, did anybody follow us back home tonight from where we were? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Have you ever tried anything like that? Or would you
not intentionally? We haven't.
Not intentionally.
When we first figured this whole thing out, we used to try doing it at home a lot, and it seemed like it would only work in this one section of my house for some reason when this first started. And then as we started going out and doing this more and more, we kind of stopped doing it at home. Because it seemed like when we went home, that was our time to recharge. And the times that we did talk at home, there was definitely not spirits that would follow us back from a location. Because I think the spirits that we talked to, really, the reason why they're at these locations is because they love them. They had some connection in life, and they really love just being there. So I don't think they'd have a reason to follow us home. But there have been times where we've done this at home. When we first started figuring this out, and there'd be spirits that were passing by. I mean, my mom, she loves to listen to the police scanners. That's what she loves to do. She loves to listen to the police scanners.
Oh my gosh, that time.
And we were doing it at home, and this person comes
This
through.
gentleman came through and he was confused.
He was very confused, and
I remember he kept talking about how he sees stars and he's asking us where he is, and we're like, we don't really know. Do you know what happened? And he was talking about how he was driving and then he sees stars.
no.
And then the police scanner said a gentleman just passed away 2 minutes down the road.
Yeah,
like
the
as
street, like 2 streets over. And I was like, oh my God.
And then he said his kid was coming to come get him, and he saw his child, and he left. And it was the weirdest.
So there are things that definitely cross over in that sense, but nothing that's really followed us. And I don't see a reason why they would. I don't think we're that cool.
No.
I think they love their house a bit more than us.
God. That's an episode of my ghost story right there. I'm telling you.
Well, my ghost story actually had an episode where I guess Andrew Borden had followed a woman down to Georgia or something like that.
Oh.
And I'm like, God, I hope not. I mean, they're going to lose a bunch of money there if Andrew disappears. And decides to like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, I'm going with you. So, wanted to go on to the final thing, and this is kind of comforting because as we have these conversations with Sarah. We learn a little bit more, not only about her family, but, well, we'll talk about it on the other side of this, but let's play the clip right now. So this was one of the final things that they talked to her about in the dining or the kitchen area.
I got one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of her guests still come to the house?
That she would host for?
Yes.
Any guests? Yeah. A, B, C, B. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, F. A, B, father. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Family. Her family visits.
That's wonderful.
Wow.
That's cool. Yeah.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Very nice.
So you can all talk about this, but, you know, as kind of like independent observers, when we've done investigations and they do this method, Julie can back me up on this, is that you've almost come to the conclusion that there is a neighborhood on the other side. Because the ultimate question is, you can say we pass over. And you can talk about Eastern philosophies with reincarnation and things like that. But ultimately, what we want to know when we pass over, do we retain our human characteristics, our memories, our personalities? Do they come with us? And it's almost as though there is a parallel world on the other side. Another dimension where there's literally a neighborhood over there because, and they'll tell you, we've had spirits talk about complaining about kids running around on the other side and making all this racket and everything, just as if they would hear. And that blew us away. We were at that restaurant in Rhode Island. It's like, yeah, there's kids running around everywhere. And we were like, really? It's like, yeah, you know, they're noisy. They're annoying.
So the weird thing too is when we ask someone a question, they're like, "What? You know, wait a minute, let me go get them." So they're talking amongst each other on the other side. It's not just one coming up.
How about that time when we were talking to an intelligent spirit and they said that they were seeing the residual spirit that living people still see today?
Bizarre. We were at a mill where the workers there claimed to see a woman pass through the same area in the same direction from one part to the next. And that was one of the claims there. It's been seen by multiple employees, and a couple of them were with us that night. So they contacted a spirit. God bless Harold was his name. Harold's the guy who moved the piece of paper when we asked him to. Mm-hmm. And Julie had put a camera down, and we see the paper just kind of like squash.
Love Harold.
And amazing, right? So Harold, we asked about the woman. Do you know of a woman who walks through this area? And his response was, yeah, she doesn't talk to anybody. So immediately we're thinking, it's like, oh my God, as Cody said, here is a communicative, intelligent spirit who's literally describing a residual type of activity going on. It's like, yeah, she passes, you know, she's stuck up or something. She doesn't talk to anybody, but he's bearing witness to the same thing that the witnesses are. Yeah, just amazing stuff as these doors open. It's
So can a spirit be haunted themselves, like be experiencing hauntings, I guess, then? Like he's bothered by seeing this woman every time walking by him, and
I think there's so many levels that you just can't wrap your head around it.
Not even close. Yeah.
It's like Inception on the other side. You know, how many layers down, levels down can you go with this? And that's
it's like spirit. It's like spirit calculus. It's, you know, a long way before we figure this all out. A long way to go.
But it was curious because the medium was pointing toward that window. If you remember, Erin and George, when they were doing it live, they had the medium in the room.
Yeah, don't get out ahead of your skis here, Bill.
I don't know what's coming, so it's not like we prepped. But
don't get out over your skis.
On the top, I'm like, what the heck is going on?
I love when they tell someone to go get another spirit. Like you can hear them leaving. And then you hear them coming back, and you're just like, "What? What?"
Well, don't get over your skis either, because that's going to be the next clip. When you call a 4-year-old into a room and you beckon to the 4-year-old, imagine how a 4-year-old is going to approach the room, and that's the subject of this next clip.
So you're not trapped inside this house, right?
No.
No, you just like it because this was your home.
Interesting.
Where's your daughter?
Clara?
Oh, I don't know if you guys can pick that up, but someone just ran into the room.
Is Clara here?
Present.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's with you?
Hi, Clara.
Over here.
such little footsteps.
Okay, so 2 questions are answered. The first was we alluded to before. Are you trapped here? Now, I want to ask Erin about that a little bit, because this is something you often hear. And I'm not saying that it's impossible for that to happen, that a spirit can be confused or trapped. But these are things we speculate on. Mm-hmm. But it bothers me sometimes when people say, well, I have to go in and cross them over. I have to move them on. Why do you assume they want to be moved on? Because it sounds to me like they have free will anyway. Or Satori, if you want to jump in on that too. But
oh no, I just agree. I agree. It's like, why? What if they just love being there? It's like you wouldn't want somebody to take that away from you.
I think we've asked if they're there all the time, correct? And they've said no.
Yeah. No, they just go about
when you guys show up and I see the light and somebody's at the door. Let me go answer it.
Well, I think you're kind of. I mean, I know a lot of people do this. I've always been of the opinion that my job with my abilities is to be a messenger. That's it. Like, it's not my job to make any sort of moral decisions on what a spirit situation is. Are they better off moving on or staying here? Like, I don't feel like I'm the person equipped to make that decision, but I am here to, if I get information, to relay it on their behalf or, just honor them from that perspective. But I'm certainly not going to, I'm of the opinion that that's not our job. Mm-hmm. I think that's stepping on toes we have no business stepping on.
No, and this is, Ken, you've designed a great forum to debate this. But one of my biggest things is, again, going back to free will. Where do people get off thinking that I'm going to cross this person over, and it's their choice to be there in the first place? How are you forcing them to cross over? But that's ego, as far as I'm concerned, and not really realizing that, you're probably not, if anything else, when you're saying, oh, it's lighter in the room now, everything, they probably left because you're annoying.
Well, I mean, who's the arbiter? Who's the arbiter of that? It's not the same as someone saying, I need a banishment, which is way out of our pay grade.
Yeah.
Right.
But isn't there a trust factor too? I mean, you go in there with the positive energy and that focus. And now let's just say somebody comes in and says, okay, we're going to try to move them on. Could that possibly turn this from a benevolent situation to a more malevolent situation if somebody were to try to do that.
I think personally that if you piss somebody off on the other side and they start acting out because they want it the way they had it for so long before you, I think it makes a lot of sense. Personally, I also agree with some other comments I saw. Like, for example, I saw one comment saying, I don't really buy the trapped theory unless maybe there's a bully there, which I really agree with, because we did one case one time where we had a spirit that said that the only reason she wasn't leaving was because she was still there with her husband, who was abusive, who passed on also. She felt like she couldn't leave him. And, so I think that bully spirits could also be making somebody feel trapped there, just like they were in life.
Wow.
So,
But still, feel trapped is different from being trapped. So it's still free will.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Let me say this about that. There are a lot of people that get very upset about groups who go into places and get very territorial about them, right? Like, Paine House belongs to us. And the deal we have worked out with them is if a group wants to get into the house, let me know, and we'll do the background on them. We'll find out if they're, we don't deny anybody unless you're a total jerk. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. But it's not so much that this is our place. And I mean, I want to be clear on this. One of the reasons that I insist on this to a degree is I want a certain consistency with the approach in that particular place. If we've built a relationship with these people, the last thing in the world you need is anybody going in there and saying, Sarah Whipple, we want you. Why are you still here? We want you out, and unbeknownst to us. And I mean, there's no one involved in this that would not set off after this. So that's kind of one of the reasons, if it's a free for all, and that's fine, and the place is open. I'm not going to do the same thing to Rolling Hills or any of these other places. But if we have some type of stewardship over this, we're mindful of how other people might come in here and approach that place. And it doesn't matter if it's the Conjuring House, the Paine House, or any one of a number of places.
Ken,
so I just want to be clear about that.
My Left Foot has a question in chat. What does Julie think about that crossing over?
It's Mary Lou Retton. She's
You're gonna get a beating later.
She didn't. She got a 3 from the rush. She didn't stick the landing, dude.
Just got a beat milkshake for you downstairs.
I'm hearing voices. I'm ignoring them.
My thoughts about crossing over. I guess I'm a little confused, like, about if I were to cross over or if people in general cross over. I'm not sure.
There's a lot of mediums that you'll see who feel the need or feel like it's their job to cross the spirit over.
That's their special.
And like having to make that moral dilemma.
Right.
I mean, it's really, if I was on the other side and someone's going to say, I need to cross you over, I mean, again, it's free will. I mean, whatever they want to do. I mean, you might have a spirit that might be a little more pissed now, saying, this person's annoying me or whatever. But I don't think, I think it's free will. I mean, I don't know, with energy, can they have a conflict on the other side? I have no idea.
True.
Yeah.
But I think you talk about the Paine House or the Conjuring House or any of these places that you're going into. When you're a sensitive or an investigator or whatever, you feel like you have a duty as an advocate for the spirits in the location that you're visiting or investigating or whatever. Like, I feel like if you're not coming from a position of making the place better than when you walked in the door, you at least owe it to them to be an advocate for them. And I think that's what sets, Rise Up, Cody and Satori. It's y'all always lead with that mindset, which I find really interesting because it's on their terms. Y'all come in on their terms, and that's laid out very early on. And I think that's very important. And I think that's why you get such great interactions and you've established such amazing relationships with these different spirits, because they understand that you're there to represent and help them, not the other way around.
Well, this is where we have a rapport that enables some of them to say, my room sucks, I don't like it. We're going to get to that in a little bit too.
Yeah. This unfortunately, Ken, this field was handed an ill bill of goods from the onset. We're investigating, and we're in a dark environment, and we don't know what's looming in the shadows. And right away, we put this, as Bill was talking about before, malevolent spin on a location when we're going to investigate. So we start with the mindset, there's something dark here, there's something evil here, not realizing, again, and you guys have talked about it on prior shows, how you do investigations during the daytime, because the claims from the house is the activity is most prevalent at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Absolutely. We don't see that, though, when it comes to the media perspective of this. No particular show in mind, just across the board. It is a blanket statement from Hollywood. Keep it dark, keep it mysterious, keep it scary. And that's the wrong mindset. For us who have been seasoned investigators, been doing this for a while, I think we've exited that. But there had to be a point in time, not necessarily Ken, because you started before the shows, but you get into that mindset because of what social programming will do to you. And exiting out of that right now, in the last 5 years, 3 to 5 years, the field in general, I think it's refreshing. And I think we're going right down the right path at this point.
Well, I think people are getting smarter, and people are getting more discerning in terms of what they're watching.
Sure.
As these shows tend to educate people, be careful what you wish for, because you end up with a smarter audience that's a little bit more objective about what they do. And, I'm here for it. Absolutely. Amen. I love when people just watch it for the value of it and take certain pieces out that are like, hey, that's interesting. Or that's a great technique or something,
But Ken, and all of you on here, to all of you, it's about preparedness, being practical, going into a location, and with respect. Yeah, and the way you guys all go about your business going into a location, I think that is so critical and important for other people to see, because I think a lot of these people just want to go in and exploit the situation, for clicks or views or whatever. You guys go in there on a professional level, doing it practical, like I said, prepared and with respect. And that is where this whole thing has to go forward when people are doing investigations, all these different groups, using the same principles that all of you use going into a location.
But also, too, it's not about us. And a lot of these groups, whether or not it be YouTube or whatever, they go in and some crappy or some sensational crap happens. And I'm like, was that the idea? Was that the plan? If you do a live event and you have to become possessed because you're on a live show, there are some people, I can guarantee you, that will happen. And that's not us.
I can tell you.
All it takes one person to I guess I've been doing this a long time with Ken, and I can't even watch the paranormal shows because we have enough of our own stuff to do, and all we're doing is gathering data and interpreting the data. But it's not about us.
This is Julie after watching one of those. It's like, oh my God. Did you see that? Oh my God. I'll send you the link.
But I do think you make a valid point, though. I mean, I've literally watched, and I have been watching for years, pretty much every paranormal show that Travel Channel and Discovery have to offer. But I think as a person who's not an investigator, as a sensitive, I've learned a lot. I mean, you get an opportunity to see mediums, their sensitives do what they do. And like you said, you may pick up, oh, well, that's an interesting technique. Like even with Cody and Satori, I mean, energetically, you can't recreate that, but there are things, like I've started using the alphabet with my pendulum on occasion, like for clarification. So I think if you come at it from the learning perspective. Like I can learn from this as opposed to just, ooh, this is terrifying and scary because, you know, the TV says so. I think that helps a lot because I've now run out of them to watch at this point. But I've learned a lot. I mean, that's what I think is so neat about getting to go to some of these events and meet people like Cody and Satori or some of these other people you see. And it's not because I want my selfie so much. It's more like I have 5 minutes to pick your brain, right? I'd rather have that 5 minutes to pick your brain and learn something from you in person than something else. You know what I mean? I don't know.
One of the biggest things that Satori's dad did, that Jay did, and even back in the day when, you know, he was working with Grant, is one of the biggest things that show did was inspire people.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you picked up techniques and you learned a little bit about the group and their personalities, but it inspired a lot of people and made it an open dialogue that you could go out and do these things, you know. And yeah, I mean, there's degrees of that, you know. There are people who have the best of intention. It's like anything else, or people who have the worst of intention. You know, if I decide I'm going to be a carpenter, I can be a good one or a bad one, right? I can be an honest person doing good work for the customer, or I can try to rip you off. It's just part of human nature. You know, whether you're a paranormal group or a bowling team or whatever you are, there's always going to be that. So you have to weigh those things out, which is why we always say, please don't just go grab somebody, ask around, get some references, talk to people, you know, bring somebody in who they may not have all the answers, but they're going to come in a way that's going to put everybody at ease and give you some comfort. So let the buyer beware.
And can we get one more clip before we go to break, Ken?
Yeah, I'm going to save the trilogy here that we want to work on, but I want to show you a picture, a still shot that Julie sent me the other day, and I'll let Jewel go over this. And this is one of those, it's like you make up your own mind deal. I personally found this kind of interesting, and we'll tell you why. This is done on a still shot with a FLIR camera of Cody and Satori. And you'll see where it's the obligatory paranormal circle that we put up there. And to me, it looks like someone wearing a white shirt with a black jacket over the top. Now, the one thing...
A black vest.
Very possibly. And the thing that I will tell you about where they're standing right now is there's no reflective surface where that figure is, and we'll blow it up a little bit to give you a little closer look at what we're looking at. And that's not semi-gloss paint, high gloss paint, a window, a mirror, or anything like that. So it's an interesting shot, and it looks like a figure of somebody, a jacket or a vest. Height, it's a little hard, maybe as tall as Satori because you're looking at a 3-point perspective there. So maybe the same height as her or a little bit taller.
I also see a receding hairline, almost a Benjamin Franklin type of hairstyle.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting shot when I looked at it because knowing the lay of the house, I know it's not on a reflective surface. So
fascinating.
I just thought that was kind of neat.
We look terrifying on thermal.
You guys are on fire. That's all I can say.
Right?
No, it's
right
again. It's an interesting perspective, and again, Cody and Satori and the breakthrough that they have made, are making, will continue to make, has incredible implications in this field. And yet they could do a knocking session on their show every other Thursday. They can do it on their Patreon account every single day and still just dwarf in a sense of what they've done compared to some of these influencers, these YouTubers. I'm not going to call them paranormal investigators because they're not. They're taking an opportunity to sell fear. And no matter where they go, including the Conjuring house, which, we've talked about before, where some of them go in there and it's demon, 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 dark, dark. I've been scratched. I've been pushed. I've been punched. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I'm possessed. And just continue to play on fears. And the viewership goes into the hundreds of thousands. So we're not crossed over into logic from a bulk perspective. But I think, and Cody, Satori, since this really revolves around what it is that you're doing, I think the core of this field might be changing. The dynamic might be changing. The mentality might be changing that, hey, we need to go down this honesty and truthfulness and respect, as Bill said, of these locations that we're going into. And, regardless of whether or not we're getting the responses that we hope for, we still should be going down this road.
I call it the paranormal blues. I got scratched. Ba, 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 ba. I got pushed down the stairs. Ba, 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 ba. I got whacked upside the head. Ba, 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 ba. Let's go to a commercial. We got more to show on here.
All right. We're going to take our break right now, guys. We got some bills to pay, and I guess they're going to add the new one in a couple of weeks here with the energy drink. But in any event, we'll just go to break right now. When we return, we've got more evidence clips and more to discuss about the Paine House investigation. You're watching Dead Air live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. Stay with us.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you'd like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
Are you looking to go on a faraway journey that is magical and mysterious, reaping on mystical legends? If so, then Mysterious Adventure Tours is perfect for you. Imagine a voyage to explore ancient mysteries of Ireland, haunted majesties of Scotland, or their chilling Birth of the Vampires in Romania. These small, esoteric getaways are limited and do fill fast. So, go to MysteriousAdventureTours.com and book your trip soon.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
I think Dad found him in the office there.
No.
I think Dad walked in and said, "What the hell?"
No, we're just looking at some of the stuff on the walls.
Figure out what some of
Yeah, make room for the Holy Ghost down there, guys.
Welcome back to the second hour of our show. Again, if you've not done so yet, please hit that subscribe button. Very important. It's one click, and you're on board with us on a regular basis for all our different content, including, Ken, if you'd like to talk about our lineup of shows. And I know we've done some changes for 2023.
Yeah, tomorrow night, the boys are back in town. Ron and Chris. They're going to be talking about Norse gods and mythology, so I'm sure that there'll be some Thor and Loki talk going on.
Sweet.
So they're going to be getting into that. Paranormal Perspectives on Thursday. Got a new Extremely Strange posted, another one on the way. Cody and Satori, as they said, are going to take a little bit of a hiatus, so we might throw a surprise in for you. Do you want to tell them a little bit about what we're going to be doing next week? George?
We are going to be talking the topic of ufology.
No, we're not.
We just had a phone call today.
2 weeks from now. Next week.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I jumped the gun.
Next week, we got a little surprise for everybody there. We're
Is this
going
the live investigation?
We're going live again, folks, from
the
Alley Theater in Middleborough, Massachusetts, home of the iconic Julie Demay. And that's going to be 8 p.m. next Sunday, right here on Dead Air. Another live investigation for you. Imagine that. Don't get used to it.
Hang on, let me put this in my calendar. Okay, now we're set to go. Live.
So we're going to be live from the Alley Theater, and not to give too much away, because we'll be promoting it during the week, but this is where Satori came under attack last time we were there, with things being thrown at her. And
You make that sound so terrifying.
oh, I mean, it was. If that book had hit you.
Oh yeah.
That paperback book had hit you.
The roll of tape that was flying through the air.
Wow.
Yeah, so we might be doing some experiments with that. And who's going to be there? Everybody you see on your screen right now will be there next week, along with the rest of the Rise Up Series.
Thank God you told me.
You know, another live investigation.
Ufology.
Well,
where'd that come from? Ufology. What?
Oh, we got in 2 weeks. We have a show. We're going to be talking about UFOs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have a clip.
A clip of
what? We don't have a clip.
You have no more clips?
What do you think? I'm Ryan Reynolds. I walk around with clips all the time when I do these shows.
Oh my gosh. All I know is when Erin and I and George were watching this, and just the way things were tying together from one area of the house and Sarah's communication to what you guys were doing downstairs and how it was all tying together. You didn't know, obviously, you guys don't know what's going on in each separate area of the home.
Nope.
And it was, I'm telling you, it was like, wow, when the window thing really freaked me out, because she was focused on the window downstairs. They're talking about that upstairs. I'm like, they're both hitting on the same thing about this window, how this person looked out to see when people would come to the house to come to these gatherings on holidays or Christmas or whatever. It was just fascinating to me how it was coming from both areas, and it was pinpointing that one location that you were at.
Well, it's going to get even better here in a little while.
Well, Ken, you had that clip you were going to use as an opener, and if you're able to play it now, I had forgotten just how big the Paine house is until you take a look at the exterior shot of it. But if you still have that clip and you want to play that, Ken, now would be a good time.
Yeah, let me go dig that up here.
There's another clip.
Let me get past all the dead air promo. Okay, here we go.
That thing's awesome. It's an awesome location with a lot of activity too. It really is.
It's not a tiny place. There are actually 4 levels to this place, so we were able to kind of get lost from each other a little bit.
Julie, let me ask you a quick question, Julie. As a filmographer, somebody who is behind the camera working on this, the responses, like you saw with the basket, the girl getting up, putting her hand up, like I'm out of here. I'm maybe one of those people that fit into a certain category where I remember getting my leg grabbed. It felt like palm fronds, the dried leaves of a palm tree, grabbing around my ankle in a residential case in a garage. And I started jumping around like it was Christmas. From a visual perspective, capturing it, people just wanted to give up and go away, or people wanted to be interactive. Does it matter to you either way how their response is?
My goal, capturing the data, is to capture the event. And
not the reaction.
My thing is, and just to be there. I had one guest at Belcourt many years ago. We asked someone to make a noise. The person was sitting down on the floor, literally stood straight up. And I was trying not to laugh. I was trying to calm them down because they said they just touched me. And that's happened at other places too, where you want to make sure they're safe. You don't want someone bolting down the stairs and getting hurt. But those rare times when that kind of thing happens, you're just thankful you're there at the right place at the right time, and you want to keep shooting. Because sometimes people might put the camera down. I know, Ken, that happened on a Rise Up event many, many years ago, where the person with the camera put it down when something very sensational occurred. So I'm just there, and I mean, I've got 9 cameras now. I have 7, then I have a thermal, and I have a GoPro 360. And my thing is to blanket the place, because whatever happens, I can guarantee you, it always happens in the room next door, or it happens what's going on behind you. So my thing, blanket the place and capture the event.
But Julie, do you have you ever encountered any issues with your equipment where there could be interference coming from the investigation, or trying to even distract you from doing the recordings at the location?
The most interesting one that I don't think Ken has ever, no one's aware of this. We're at the Paine house, and one of the stories is a little girl that is seen in a white dress, might be Sarah, that does this little twirly thing in the dining room. So
Clara.
we had an event, a very small group, just myself, Ken, and maybe 1 or 2 other people from Rise Up. So I put my GoPro 360 on the floor on a tripod to say, I'm thinking all this stuff happens on the floor. Why not set up the camera at 2-3 feet up? So I did that on my GoPro, and I always fast forward to my video to see if I catch anything, because I'm impatient. So I said on this one, let me fast forward the GoPro. And what happened, as I'm like, if someone's there, the GoPro slowly turned on the tripod about, I'd say 90 degrees, 180 degrees. It started looking down the hallway, and at the end of the video, it was facing complete different direction.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, there's no wires involved. It's self-contained. So.
Yeah. Just a thought here then, going back to the work done by the paranormal couple. What if we put that 360 right on top of Cody's head during a session, so all of those skeptics can shoot down in any direction and see that there's no foul play happening?
We can mount it on a colander or something like that.
You can put it on my head. You can put it any way you want. They're still going to say something. We've heard it all. We've heard
careful.
We have electronic shoes. We've heard that my flashlight's a Bluetooth speaker.
We've heard that Cody's an alien and I'm his human connection to this world, and that's how we communicate. Like, we've heard it all.
Totally agree.
I know, that was the most believable.
Oh my gosh.
It's not a hip replacement, it's removing one of the implants.
Hey, I'm going to take my $199 back. You're telling me.
He's slowly becoming totally bionic, so he can show his true self. One piece at a time.
What if he gets a new hip and this goes away? It's like, oh my God.
Oh, no.
Well, actually, is it like a
that
metal
thing.
implant? Is it going to be like a metal?
Yeah, it's something. Though.
So what if it's like, because Julie, you remember when we were at the carriage Like, and we were getting some weird amplified like communication when you joined. Also, maybe metal added in will help.
Yeah, I believe it's a conductor because I have metal in my face. I have pins in my sinuses. My upper jaw is all metal, and I believe when I've had contact with them, I could feel a low, like a very a weak current, like pins and needles. So I honestly believe that having some kind of metal in your body, I think, has something to do with it.
Well, you guys are like rabbit ears on an old TV.
Yeah. So all you people are inventing these ITC devices. All you need is a metal implant.
Yeah.
Okay, what were we talking about? Oh, I have a clip I want to play before we get into the real meat of this thing. And no one's heard this because I just found it last night. And this is actually pretty cool. It's an EVP, and we're in what's called the Traveler's Room. I'm going to play a couple of clips from there, and I want to ask Cody to kind of explain the static meter to them, because when you're looking at them communication, you'll see that there's a camera on a table, and there was a method to that madness, because at all times, Julie, we must have had minimum 2 or 3 cameras going in a room at a time, between cell phones, handheld, stationaries, everything we had. So this is the other thing people have to realize, that these angles are not something you saw on the broadcast. They're taken from standalone cameras at different angles. And the reason that you saw that was because of the static meter that it was focused on. I'll have Cody explain that. But we're in a Traveler's Room. We hear a noise behind us. We're in there, Mark from our group, myself, Maria Dorgan, her husband Sean, Lisa Purcell. And this is the noise that we heard. And this is something I just found last night. So kind of cool.
With them, that's absolutely fine because I love the children.
He's in almost like suspenders.
Did you hear that?
I heard that.
Right behind me. There was some moan or voice or something.
Yeah. So after the first sound, you're going to hear what I honestly think, I'm positive, is the name Sarah. So I just want to play it again now. You know what to listen to. After someone says the first sentence, you hear like a question, like Sarah, like someone's looking for us. So one more time.
With them, that's absolutely fine because I love the children.
He's in almost like suspenders.
Did you hear that?
I heard that.
Right behind me. There was some moan or voice or something.
Yeah.
What were you talking about before? Do you remember?
There was a young African-American child that Maria said was in the room with us. So we were kind of addressing him to try to make him feel comfortable enough to interact with us. Thinking like, how he might have been treated in the 1800s as opposed to now. There might be a little hesitancy to engage. So that's all we were doing at that particular time. And then I heard it, Mark heard it, and we just let it go from that, like marked audio and everything. So when I reviewed last night, that's what I got.
I remember that segment. We were just transferring from upstairs to downstairs on screen. And it was...
You didn't have that at all. This was on our recorders. You were on... I guess Cody and Satori at that time.
Yeah, as we were coming back, that's when Maria's husband said, "Yeah, I just heard that behind me."
Right.
And we just missed it at that point.
Exactly. Now, also in the Traveler's Room, Cody, if you want to tell them a little bit about the static meter before I play this, it might make more sense.
Yeah. So I believe you're talking about the dome ones, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So these are really cool devices. It's basically a dome shape, circular shape. And it has LED lights surrounding it. Maybe I want to say like 15 lights surrounding the top of it, all different colors. And those are directional markers. So what this device is doing is measuring the ionosphere, so static electricity, anomalous static fields that are just kind of moving about the room very abnormally. That shouldn't be happening because static likes to stick to surfaces. So for an anomalous static field to be moving like that, that's pretty odd. So that's basically what this device does. And when you see the lights lighting up, wherever there's a light lighting up, the static field is directly in front of that light. And so you can ask if there's something there. And we found that these fields can be intelligent if you ask them to respond to moving a certain direction.
Right. So when we were in there, this particular device wasn't doing anything. It was kind of forgotten. It was sitting next to me. And if you saw the broadcast, you probably saw the light reflecting off the slanted ceiling in there. And that's what brought our attention to it. So this is the entire clip, and watch the way this thing sort of goes in a circle.
I mean, very, very much hesitation. He's very nervous, almost like he wasn't allowed to be in that room before.
You're welcome to it. We brought this field.
So like curious, but definitely like hesitant. Yeah.
Yeah, the static was going off.
Oh.
Yeah, everywhere. Can I do that?
That's pretty cool.
Maybe he likes it and the colors.
Direction.
I think he wants to be in there. It's just he's just really nervous.
Static meter. Are we still here? Okay. We're using a static meter. So if you can see that, it's directional. So if there's any kind of static charge in the air, that'll trigger. It hasn't up to now. We just saw it because it reflected off the wall. And apparently it just made about a 180, starting with me, moving stronger toward me.
Maria, unmute.
There, she's unmuted. Go ahead.
Keep moving your way around. That's fine. Oh, you're doing such a great job.
Excellent.
Good job.
Wow, look at that.
Very good.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. It wasn't just the idea that something was lighting up. This thing was like literally on the move.
Yeah.
Doing like a full circle.
Yeah.
Somebody had go.
Yeah, do you think that the little boy actually, like when Erin and I and George were on, it's almost like maybe he enjoyed it and was like playing with it, like was curious about it. Is that possible?
Of course. I mean, because a lot of the things we bring as trigger objects are geared toward children, whether, Mark brings a dog, Cody will bring a dog with proximity sensors on it, a doll, a bear, a teddy bear, one of the cat balls, something that might be non-threatening, but interesting to a child. Interestingly enough, a lot of times the adults get in on it too, because they're just curious, especially the dads, like, what is this thing? Whoa! But it happens. I wanted to give another example of the static meter, and this is again Julie's camera angle on the meter when Cody and Satori are doing their session, and you'll see the meter react to Sarah Whipple's presence.
We are located in.
So we are in like the main dining room area where we have most of our activity inside this house. It's probably one of the most haunted rooms inside of this house with the most active activity. A lot of experiences have happened in here, and we're definitely getting some interaction with the static meter here.
We are talking to currently Sarah, who's very sweet, and she's telling us a little bit about herself. Her father was Thomas, and her husband was William. She cleared that up just to make sure we had that on record. We asked her to walk over to this device, and it's been going off on command for a couple minutes now. And we want to ask her a little bit about what she looks like.
Okay, and we'll actually get to that. I talked to Bill during the break, and we'll try to get to everything. If we may go over a little bit tonight, but Bill will call the balls and strikes on that. So anybody's thoughts on this particular device? Because I thought it was pretty interesting. It did something other than the typical EMF fields that, get triggered by REM pods and things like that.
Yeah, I love those things because you can have a sense of direction. With the EMF detectors, it just lets you know when there's a spike. With these, you have a sense of direction, and the same with them static ropes that they have now, which we're working on getting them. Bob Christopher is the one who makes these, and he sent a few up because we're having such great luck with these at a few events we were doing with the museum. Seemed like the objects really like this, and we were getting a sense of direction on which objects the spirits were interacting with. So he sent us 2 of them, and they've been working great. I really love devices that you can just set down and not paying attention to. That's really the stuff that's been really attracting me lately, because my whole way on how I investigate has shifted so much since I started now, especially after meeting Satori, that equipment just doesn't mean as much to me anymore. Like it used to,
Oh, see what you've done to him.
I know, I ruined him.
It doesn't. I think people have to start paying. They have to start paying attention to themselves more. I think we have to take a step back to the spiritualist movement and really pay attention to ourselves.
The whole purpose of what we did on this particular night, and I was telling people all night, don't worry, we've got cameras and pods and recorders. We've got all of that running, but we wanted to do something a little bit different because we've spent 11 years with data measuring and stuff like that. So you kind of bring everything together a little bit, and you see how they play off each other. Where we can, it's like, hey, and then Sarah said, it's like, no, here, watch the video.
Right.
Sarah,
and when you leave the equipment, because we put those static domes down at the beginning of the night, and I don't think, at least the one that was near us, we didn't move it the entire night. And that's the best, because when it doesn't go off for like an hour and then all of a sudden it starts going off, it adds validity to the whole experience. When you're walking around with equipment, there's so many other variables that could be playing into whatever's happening with that device. When you just set something down and forget about it, I sound like that old infomercial with the oven. Set it and forget it.
Forget it.
Just let it go. I think it adds so much validity to the experience that's happening around it. So that's really cool. Right. That's really, really cool.
Well, then I'm going to ask the 2 of you, and I'm going to ask Erin also, because she focuses more on the, I guess, the psychic and sensitive part of investigating. But for your investigators out there, those that are watching that are either novices or they're part of a team or they just love going out and investigating themselves, how do they keep the interest without the equipment if they don't have the abilities that you guys possess? In other words, nothing's happening within a room or a location as far as physical activity, physical manipulation. So they've got to have these pieces of equipment in there at least to test the waters and see whether or not they're getting responses back. Yes, we could talk about flashlight sessions being a joke, K2s being a joke, but there's a lot of equipment out there that really is starting to rise to the surface that people could use to get that communication going. Would you agree, Erin?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially for somebody like me who's not an investigator. I mean, I've only done one investigation. That was with Rise Up and Cody and Satori. So my head was just exploding all night. But I think as a sensitive, you're getting so much information that, like you said, you can't validate physically. So I think it is necessary to have the equipment too. I think there seems to be like a division, like it has to be one or the other, like one's better than the other. But I think they have to work together a lot of the times because, like you said, not everybody, I actually believe everybody has abilities. Some people are just more finely tuned to start, but if that's not your bag yet, I think it is still important to have the equipment because you've got to be able to validate that. And I know even for me still, there's times when stuff gets validated by whether it's equipment or even, I had something happen when you guys were at the Paine house. I was like, oh, I think it is because you can't give somebody the image of what's in your head or what you're getting. And then of course people are like, oh, you just made that up or you read the history or whatever. And it's like, well, I don't have any way to validate this for you. So a lot of times equipment helps with that. And it's a good balance between the two.
But you will always have people that will question the equipment itself anyway.
They're going to question you whether it's equipment or abilities. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. People are going to reach their conclusion because the same thing happens in the ufology field. I can capture something over my house and it's high altitude, but you really can't make it out, even with a good camera, You know, unless it's something so pronounced and yes, this is it. People are always going to do it. And, you know, you're going to have the people that are the skeptics that are fine. It's good to be skeptical.
Yeah.
The debunkers, you know, you're always going to have that in the field. But like, I agree with you. You have to have some technology that helps vet and give the whole process the credibility about the entire event that's going on. But Cody's right. It really comes down to the person having their experience and that connection.
Yep.
Without that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Julie's been with the group about 11 years. And believe it or not, Cody about 7 or 8, you know, going back. And long before any of this, we have volumes of evidence that we've gotten, some like amazing stuff, video and audio. So we're not saying put aside the equipment at all, but take a minute to understand that there's a lot of moving parts that have to corroborate each other. Just because a light comes on, oh, there's a ghost in the room. Well,
Right.
What did the other thing do? And then the other thing do? Was there a temperature drop? Was there a barometric pressure drop? And I know that this stuff, I'm sorry, but it's involved. It takes a long time. And we're moving more toward just kind of instant gratification type of equipment because no one wants to review. And I mean, Julie can speak to this better than anybody. I don't know how she has her eyesight at this point with the, I mean, I'm talking tens of thousands at this point of hours of video review.
I've
And
got
I get
10
the
terabyte of video. 10 terabyte.
That's
Wow.
what I mean.
Wow.
And like, I get the easy part because she'll send me 27 clips and we'll go over them and we'll overlay sound on them and we'll do what we need to do to get maybe those 8 that are like, wow, this is like really something. You know, and I've always said this, we throw out better stuff than oftentimes you'll see during TV shows.
But the neat thing I have to say is, for the years that I've done this and all the video review I've done, is when, and this has happened maybe 3 times, where Cody and Satori are doing a session and they have an interaction. We had it at a old restaurant in Rhode Island where there was a lady responding. There was an old lady in a basement, and something about, are you here? And you hear yes as a yes knock, but I also heard an EVP of a yes of an old woman.
Right.
So several times I've actually heard the knocks and an EVP at the same time.
Wow.
And that sort of, to me, validates it more than just one or the other.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, evidence, we're talking evidence compounding, and it's something that should be always with the exception, again, it's very difficult. How do you add on to the knocking sessions that Cody and Satori do? That's right there. It's in your face, but they just did it.
Yeah.
They just showed with another piece of equipment, let's compound it and add with this also. So everybody out there needs to understand that if you're, using one device, have several other devices incorporated, plus you as a device, and what you're feeling, what your sensations are, and also what you're experiencing with your 5 senses. Very, very important.
One thing I have to say about video evidence too, is why I have so many cameras. Say we're in a house and there's 3 rooms, cameras 1, 2, and 3. Say there's a noise you hear, and you hear it in the first room. It's really loud and it's an EVP. The second room might sound like a demon because it's distant, and the third room you won't hear anything at all. So just because you have that noise doesn't mean it's what you think it means. So that's why we run cameras. All my cameras are time synced. So if we have a noise in the Paine house, I can see, let me play back in the room what's next door. It might be clearer, it might be muffled, and it might sound completely different. So it's a lot of it is good luck, but you have to blanket the place.
Yeah, I mean, what people don't see when they come on and they see these clips, and it's like, ooh, what they don't see is the reams of data we delete and get rid of. And there's I'm not a big one on, Well, okay, I mean, there's something there, but
yeah,
you know, I'm not big on a one syllable thing unless it's like yes, no, you know, or something clear.
I just want to give a quick example. A couple of months ago, I went into investigation with Scott Allen, and we went to this home in Dutchess County, and I had my cameras. I had 3 cameras set up. Same thing, standalone, set up in rooms. So I walk into a room, and as I'm passing Scott, a book falls off the shelf, and we're like, "Whoa!" But when I went back to look at the camera, you can see the camera shaking a little bit. It was my weight walking into the room that must have disturbed the floor surface and made the book fall. So, you know, even the equipment in that case can make a situation clarified, because no, it wasn't that the book fell because there was some paranormal activity. It's because I walked into the room, boom, 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 and you can see the camera shaking slightly. And that same time the camera shaking, the book falls off. So even equipment is helpful in that case to solve an issue, to pretty much debunk what we all thought was a paranormal activity. No, it wasn't. It was simply my walking, you know.
To thine own self be true, right?
You know, so even in that case, it's helpful to have equipment, because you can say, well, you know, not necessarily, it wasn't exactly that.
Yeah. I think the key is, if you're going to use equipment, get the equipment that just runs itself. Even when Jules is filming, she usually sets up a bunch of cameras, but when she has the handheld camera, half the time she's not even looking at the screen on the camera. She's just holding it. She's still using her vision to search the room and just move the camera around that way. I think it's super important to just make sure you have your full self immersed in the environment when you're investigating, because I mean, one of the first things that, you know, Ken talked about when I joined the group was that there's so many people that are just staring down at their device like this, and there could be a spirit jumping around right in front of you, and you're missing the whole thing because you're waiting for that EMF spike to go up. Yeah. You have to just get the stuff that runs by itself and make sure
there's one little dust particle going across the thing, and it's like it's all over the place, but you're just looking through a 2-inch by 1.5-inch little screen.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But I wanted to, if I could, get on with probably one of the more interesting things that happened. And I want to go into this by telling you that in past years that we've had events there, we've had people from the neighborhood, not part of the group, but just walk past us when we're taking a break and have a conversation. You know, what are you guys doing? Oh, you know, we're investigating. Wow, you know, that's really cool, you know. So we've had people who maybe are walking their kids to the bus stop or walking their dog that have said, you know, when I cut through the yard or I walk around the house, I'll see the curtains or the shades move. You know, and they have no dog in this fight. And we're just kind of like, well, you know, that's interesting, you know. So we've had a couple of people over the years tell us about their experiences walking by the house, which is the reason they don't want to go into the house, because that's kind of freaky when nobody's there at, you know, 9 o'clock in the morning. So we started talking about, again, Sarah Whipplestone being the matron of the house and running it in there, very hands-on. And we talked about if she would look out the windows, trying to find out who's looking out the window. Would you look out the window if guests were coming? And the first thing I want to play is Maria Dorgan upstairs giving us her impressions from Sarah's bedroom of how she would handle that if a carriage was pulling up outside. So let me just play this for you quick. Another high five.
She's incredibly gifted.
Yes.
Yes.
Unbelievably gifted.
There's a woman showing me her standing here watching people arrive by like carriage. I think it's like a constant, and she's just taking note of people arriving. Does that make sense?
Yes. Because Sarah Whipple, whose bedroom this was the matron of the house.
So this is Sarah?
Yes, so she would, or her staff would prepare meals for their visitors, because like I said, this is a stagecoach stop from Boston to Hartford, but they would also come from Hartford to Boston.
She's taking count, so she knows what has to be done.
Two-way traffic, essentially.
Okay, so
That's
this
phenomenal.
is Sarah. Okay.
All right.
So Okay, so now Maria doesn't know the story. I mean, Cody does, probably Julie does, because we've lived it. Maria doesn't know the story of anybody looking out windows. At the same time that she is doing this upstairs, this is what you didn't see live, and Julie has a camera on it. At the same time, Cody and Satori are downstairs, and this is what they get.
Ask if people would get excited when.
You.
All right. So you want Bill? You just want to ask the question. I'm sure she can hear you.
Yeah. If she would look out her window as the guests arrive, and she would be excited when they would be coming to the home.
Did you hear that? Do you get excited? No. Yeah? Do you look out the window? Yeah?
I know that oftentimes a lot of people claim they see somebody looking out the window. Do you still do that till this day?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Okay, so what happens is we're live. Bill jumps on with Cody and Satori to ask them to, hey, can you confirm she looked out the window on two different floors of the house simultaneously? We both get, yes, she looked out the window. One from the medium and one directly from Sarah. Now this gets even better because now Cody and Satori come upstairs. I do not know that they've been asked this downstairs, but I found out, so I asked if they would confirm it. So this is that.
Well, were you guys saying something downstairs when Sarah looks out the window? Yeah. Because then Maria said it's supposed to. And get this woman who keeps looking out that window at the guests arriving. And then they said, yeah, Cody and Satori downstairs was saying how she looks out the window.
Yep. Yeah, and she confirmed she did. Yep. That's
So
pretty
we're
cool.
like, high five right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compounding.
So now we come to the best part of this, where Cody and Satori start to have a conversation with Sarah about what's she looking at out the window. And this kind of, I don't want to jump the gun on this, but let's just say she has been paying attention to us since the first day we walked in this place. So this is a little under 3 minutes long, but it's worth every second of it. So
wow,
here you go.
Do you ever see anything that scares you or anything you remember that made you laugh one time out the window? Do you have a memory? Yeah, can you tell me about it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T. Water?
Water.
Salt water?
Where is the water?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, I, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
L, M, N, O. Oh,
Outside.
outside, the water outside.
Do you like watching the water outside? Made you laugh? What happened to the water outside? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, T, U, V, W, A, B, C, D, E. River?
It was a river outside.
Like a flood? Oh, and you found that funny?
That happened to us.
Happened to us, first night we were ever here.
We had a flood
Yep.
on the street.
Is that what you
Remember the first night we were ever here, Sad? The first night we came to bring guests.
I think that's what she's talking about.
And the river flooded and the street was full of water.
She said river, flood, water, baby, laugh.
Yeah, so she laughed.
So she must have found it funny.
Explaining to you how badly this sucks.
I've been taping the whole time. Do you want to go up? You want to go?
Dave has actually had to go to the high ground. The road is flooded. It's like opening night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, man. Wait. You got a diamond boy?
I swear to God, I just saw a bass go by. Dave was here.
Where's your fishing pole?
He
You could probably just use a net.
He'd be baiting the hooker.
Look at that young guy. Oh my goodness.
I've never seen that clip before.
Yeah.
I've never seen
That
it.
was before me. That's the year I was
Yeah,
in
that's
hospital.
before you.
before
That
me.
was June 11th, 2011. The first public event we had there, they had a water main break. The entire road got flooded on our opening night there. And this is what we were getting at during the night. Sarah Whipple remembers that night. She talked about the flood and the river coming down the road, and she thought that was funny. Thank you very much.
Wow.
And there's the proof in the pudding. We had the clip from 2011. She has been aware of us since we've been there for 11 years. She remembered that night.
That is so cool.
And there is no water near the building.
This is why Julie Demay is like my favorite person in the world. She records everything.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I will say this though, George, Erin, and I, when you guys were live, were freaking out with that whole window thing because I can't get over that. I mean,
I can tell.
It was amazing. I mean, it was amazing because two separate groups are doing two different things, and it's all tied to the windows and the same thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Erin. Come on, right?
It was. Well, I'm thinking that was amazing, but I also, when you're talking about what they're aware of,
yes.
I mean, even when we were at the farm, Cody was alluding to this earlier. We had nothing was on film. We were all just sitting in the kitchen, hanging out, and the knocking is starting, and they're not even touching. They're sitting like 3 or 4 feet across, like apart from each other, and then the lights start flickering, and then the door opens, and then this message comes through, and the message that came through. This spirit was listening to our entire conversation all night long and referenced specific names of people that we had just been discussing not 5 minutes earlier. So the capacity for memory and for awareness will never stop astounding me. It just absolutely blows my mind.
And the essence of investigating in this particular point is we did not tell Marie about anybody looking out windows. So she did that independently.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what they were doing downstairs, and we never talked about the flood until it was brought up by the spirit of Sarah Whipple Stone, who said, "Yeah, I remember. I was laughing at you guys. I thought it was hysterical." And then we were able to go back with everybody independently coming up with their own thing. There was no place memory, no suggestion, nothing at all. And then when it unfolded, then we could spill the beans and say, well, here's what happened.
Well, my question for y'all as serious seasoned investigators, who, you guys have been investigating together forever. When you have that kind of interaction and validation, where you have a spirit remembering something funny from 11 years ago, what does that do for you as an investigator? Like, how does that make you feel from that? That's like everything you could possibly want in one night. Like, how does that make you feel when you get that stuff?
I'm going to let you guys answer that. How does it make you feel?
Well,
I think you're going to say the same thing.
I know with us is that when she started talking about the river, we didn't get it. It didn't go. A light bulb didn't go off for a minute or two, and then only myself and Ken would have even known what she was talking about. But I think it's interesting where you think of like residual or different kind of energies. This kind of energy remembers things, and you would think that wouldn't be the case. It would be in the moment, but I mean, you think how much she's remembering back to the 1700s or whatever. That's incredible. Then that's just more questions. I've got more questions now than I did when I started, 12 years ago. Yeah, they're taking it all in.
Yeah. Satori and I, we've only seen it from like Jules said, that was before our time, the whole river thing. So we've only seen it from a reaction standpoint of how they react once they figure, once the light bulb goes off and they figure out that's what they're talking about. It's really cool to see that. And it's cool in a different way for us because we're like, I mean, still to this day, I mean, we've been doing this for a few years now, and we still get really surprised. And usually that night when we go home, we start replaying it over again and be like, wow, did that really just happen? Is this really possible? Is this really still happening? And there's been plenty of times. I know probably one of the strangest times for me was, and it happened, I think 2 or 3 times now, and it's only happened with Ken, I believe, when Ken's about to ask a particular spirit something, and we don't know who he's going to ask the question to. And then right before he says the name of the person that he's going to ask the question to, that spirit comes over and says, hey, Ken's thinking about me. Yeah. And we go, who are you? And they spell out their name. And that's the stuff I love to see, because that I rarely see Ken like that. And that's when I know, well, this really is
we
something
accidentally just read
strange.
someone's mind.
You just want to see me lose my cool exterior. Right?
I love the spirits of that house. They all have so much character, and you can still tell they're still in their old ways or in their time period. And I'm still trying to figure out how the time overlaps and how they can still experience us, but their time period, almost like we're the ghosts to them. Is that how it works? Like, but they're still in their time period. Like when we were upstairs in the attic space, and we were explaining phones, and the spirit looked over at Jacqueline holding up her cell phone and went, "So you're a witch?" And I'm like, no. No, yeah. Like, let's shut that.
No burning here.
It's not 1700. No.
Since we have gone back, and I think, what was it, like last year, right? Last November was the first time it was at the lodge that you guys were like, hey, mind if we try something? Okay.
That's right.
And then, you're like, But it's only been a year since we went back to Paine House, and we were able to connect with these people in this manner. And one of my favorite parts is because Satori usually does a lot of the talking in the background, is trying to listen to her explain what technology is to somebody who grew up in the and you have to find the language. It's like when the guy comes through at the house we did in Rehoboth and says, yeah, I remember Hans Holzer there. He had a box with wheels, which turned out to be, a real tape recorder. It took us a minute to figure it out. So you can only imagine. On the other side, it's like, I can take your picture with this.
Yes, there's so much explaining you have to do, and they throw it all at you at once. They're like, what's this? What does this do? What do you mean you could talk to somebody? Why are you wearing pants? What is this thing? They're always throwing all this information because they're so curious.
Trying to explain what a Mylar balloon was.
But my question is, do they adapt and learn that eventually they'll know this is a phone?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do they pick that up eventually?
Well,
if we throw it at them enough, they might start to remember. Kind of like stuff if we were to tell them this is what this does, they might start to remember how to use it.
The ones that are interested in learning, I think will, because there have been times, especially at Paine House, the spirits there love to learn new things, and that was even before Satori and I came along with this thing that we do. Ken and Jules and Rise Up were recording them, learning things as they went through EVP. So I think the spirits there definitely love to learn stuff. And Ken was alluding to the balloon. They had never seen a balloon, before, and now they know what a balloon is.
How is it floating? That's so cute.
And then the greatest question, why?
Yeah, why do you have that?
Right.
And we're all thinking to ourselves, that's a great question. Why do we have those? I don't know.
Because we can. We are really running out of time rapidly. And if we do go over, Bill has graciously given us the extension that's needed. He'll have to do his next show in about 2 minutes or so. He'll be departing us and moving on from there if we continue. How many more clips do we have, Ken?
I have 3 for a total of maybe 4 minutes total where they encounter someone new at the house.
Well, you know what? Before you get into that next phase, I just want to say thank you for allowing myself to participate in this. Looking forward to next week's live investigation. And Happy New Year, Cody. I wish you the best, both of you, on the procedure that you're going to have soon. Ken, George, Julie, Erin, love all of you. Love all the people that are watching and listening. Enjoy the rest of the show. I'm going to bail out and go to other programming, but it was great evidence. I mean, I can't get this out of my head. I just can't. I mean, it's been really like to see all of you, doing these investigations. It's so amazing. Keep up the great work. And it's always a pleasure to be here with you all on Dead Air. And I'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Bill.
Have a good night.
Talk to you soon, brother.
Good night.
All right. So thank you. We're going a little bit over, and there are 3 clips that I really want. Well, we can do whatever we want now. We're on our own channel. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about your attic session, because this is a place that up until very recently was kind of shaky. It was kind of sketchy to go up there, but they've kind of fixed it up so you can roam. And it's a very active area, and you hadn't been there before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's where we talked to that gentleman there.
That Sarah's husband.
Yeah, that's when Jacqueline was called a witch.
Yep, he called Jacqueline a witch. Yeah, we shut that down. I think it was more of an innocent, like, wait, so she's a witch, because that's what they would have said back then. And so we have to teach them there's, it's okay to have a different religion, and no, you're not a witch for having a cell phone. Like, you're,
Harlot.
God, that's a lot of gap to cover. Which cell phone?
I know.
This session was cool, though. This session was really neat, though, because we got to learn something that you won't learn in a history book. You're not able to look this up.
Amen.
We were able to learn how how this whole story of him meeting his bride.
And he sweet talked her. He was really sweet talking about her. It was so cute.
Mm-hmm.
But
so this is the moment where you invite William into the room. This real quick clip.
If there's anybody here and you can hear my voice, and you're in this general area, can you please come into the room right now? I'm standing over here. I'm in a pink jacket.
Okay, so typically that's what we hear. It may start out faint, but then all of a sudden it's like when the 4-year-old little girl enters the room, it's somebody called her. It's like, Clara, come on in. So she books it into the room, and as Mr. Stone, like you can imagine, kind of entering the room. Who summoned me?
Yeah.
So that's how it's said. And this is a little longer clip, but it's a couple of minutes long. But this is all good stuff. And this is their initial chat with William Stone. And give me a good chance to go downstairs, get some water. So here you go.
Are you trying to spell a word? All right, so I'm going to go through the alphabet. When I get to the first letter of the word, you knock, and then I'll restart. When I get to the second letter, you knock, and I'll keep restarting until we spell it out, okay? Follow along, all right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L M N O P Q R S T U V W A B C D E F G H I A B C D E F G H I J K L. William? William. Have we talked to you before, William? Okay, I'm having a hard time remembering. Can I get a last name? A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S S A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T T A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O. Anybody know? A
S-T-O.
B C D E F G H I J K L M N. Stone?
Okay, that sounds familiar.
William Stone. Well, I'm sorry if we don't remember you. It's just we talk to a lot of people. Well, it's great to talk to you.
Are you related to anybody in this house that we've talked to frequently? Do you know who
Sarah
is?
Are you related to Sarah? Can I ask how? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, H. Husband. Okay.
Okay.
There you go. I'm having my cookie now.
Did you know you had a second guy in the room that night?
It was
He was. So I was flipping through because I take notes when I do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought you were talking to the guy I was seeing. And there was a guy standing behind, like, I guess would be your left shoulder. And I was writing down high collar, white pulled back hair, military uniform, which we found him downstairs later, that picture on the wall. And I made the video and I'm like, holy crap. So you had two in there. But the one guy that I was seeing wasn't saying anything. I just assumed that y'all were talking to him. And then when you went down into the military room or into the room where the artifacts are, and y'all, somebody put a close-up picture of the guy on the wall, it was the guy that I saw. So you actually had two in there.
Mm-hmm.
But the one wasn't saying anything.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, there could be a reason. Usually, and I don't know if that was on camera, usually Satori, we've learned to kind of, when we give our ground rules, we're usually like, okay, one person has to come through at a time, because there's been times where they want to talk at all at the same time, and sometimes the information gets jumbled up. So might be why that he wasn't saying anything.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The last clip from that session is something that they typically do to just confirm an identity. So you'll see something that typically happens when we do these things.
William, do you remember the year that you left this world?
In a physical form? Do you remember the exact down to the day? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the months, then the days, and then I'll do the years. And I can go January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 3. September 3rd. Okay, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, 1900, 10s. Before that. So before 1910. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so September 3rd, 1908 is when he died.
Okay. We'll make a note of that and see if we can find any record.
Can we put that on camera?
Yeah, that's Julia's doing.
Yeah.
I
love that.
just can't wrap my brain.
I wonder if it's like a birthday for them. Like maybe it's an important date, like a birthday almost. Like, oh, this is the day I, went over and I became healthy again or happy again or, so.
Right.
Or do they know that it's something you can verify with the magic box?
Maybe. I don't know. I did have to explain to somebody from the 1700s how a phone call worked by having somebody in the other room. And that took a good 45 minutes before they started catching on. So I don't know.
So nuts. I told you guys, like, I will be 85 one day and it will still make my head explode every time you guys do what you do. It just
well,
insane.
This is why we have kind of gone on a campaign, really, and there are more places yet, but it's why we've kind of gone on a campaign to revisit a lot of places that we've already investigated. Like, we've done our things there, with the recorders, and so now we get some kind of emotional and personal content that you can't read about in books. You can get names, dates, and they're invaluable. But when you start talking about, how people feel about, what the house used to look like, or certain people that were there, that's invaluable, because now you're just kind of creating a different kind of bond with people. It's like, oh, here's the guys that are going to ask me questions. Mm-hmm. But now you're having a conversation with people who lived 200 years ago. And you find out that they're just as curious about us as we are about them, because they love to ask questions like, are you a witch, and things like that.
Are you a witch? That's so much more common than you think. That is so much more common.
Well, it's like a living book report almost. Like, you're able to get, outside of, are you here? And can you make a noise for me? You're getting historical information from the source itself, like what they like to cook at Christmas time, and who still comes to visit. Like, you don't get that anywhere else. You're getting historical information you can't get otherwise.
Would it be fair to say to all of you this question of, would it be fair to say that time on the other side is not linear in any way?
It only serves a purpose here on this planet, I think.
Yeah. And in this form. Because
Correct.
They could be in their time frame, they could be in our time frame, they could be in other locations simultaneously or instantaneously. There seems to be no refrain from the possibilities of what it is that they're doing. And that gives us, and it makes a lot of sense to me too. Here you're talking to a man about his death, his passing from this form, and he's very candid about it. There doesn't seem to be any, I don't like to talk about that kind of thing. It seems the only time that it really becomes relevant is when they're visiting their grieved ones who are still alive on this side. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's just another day. Even if that day has multiple definitions to it, that seems to be okay with them. Fascinating.
Yeah,
I think that there's an appreciation of just engaging with them, because we're constantly saying, listen, we don't want you to be forgotten. We want to memorialize you. We want to know more about you. It's like, maybe you don't think of yourself in that regard as somebody important, but for whatever our reasons, we do. And there's a lot you can tell us and a lot you can teach us. So that's why when you say, do you remember your date of death? Do you remember, like, what can you tell us about yourself? And I'm not saying ego plays into it, but, it's got to feel kind of good, because there's happiness on the other side. There are emotions on the other side too. So I'm just surmising it must be pretty nice to have people paying interest in you.
I bet it does. I'm interested to see what the theater, when we go and investigate there again, what happens now that we know that there's some different attitudes in every part of the building. So, because attitude definitely stays on the other side, apparently. So,
my granddad used to say, when am I allowed to say when you're an ASS hole in life.
Okay, you can go ahead. Yeah.
All right, good. So my granddad used to say, when you're an asshole, you're an asshole 24 hours a day. When you're dead asshole.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, there's one there.
There is one there. He was nasty.
Well, the thing is this is our second investigation there. And the first one, the guy sort of yelled at us as we were leaving the basement. This time, he just throws something at you. And that was the story, that there was a grumpy old guy in the basement.
Yeah, he's grumpy.
For those of you who stuck around that are normally KGRA viewers and you switched over to Dead Air Full Spectrum, I again encourage you to hit that subscribe button, the thumbs up, and the reminder bell for upcoming content. Welcome to the family. This is just a taste of things to come in 2023. We have so much more coming your way. And as they were just mentioning, a live investigation. If you want to pull up that banner again for everyone, Ken, so they know where you guys are going to be next week. And Erin, you're going to be with me here in the studio?
I am. I'm
Very
excited.
nice.
I know nothing about this place, so even better. Like nothing at all.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see.
There have been some already in the 2 times we've been there, some interesting stuff. And for the first time, we're probably going to encounter somebody who's grumpy. Somebody who's not really all that nice.
Amongst other things.
I'd like to see Satori manhandle somebody grumpy. I'd like to be I would be a fly on the wall for that.
I'm sure this guy would want her to do that too.
Well, you're giving away what happened last time. The way his attitude was, yeah.
He seems to look at women differently than most men today do. That's for sure.
Goodness.
For sure.
Well,
so that's coming up next week, 8:00, right here. You know, we'll be setting up and doing what we need to do. The one thing I will say, on behalf of all of us, I thought our transitions were very good during the last live investigation. I've been on some that weren't that good, but I thought you guys handled it great in studio. And, you know, we can always get a little bit better on it, and we'll talk this week. But it didn't ever feel like we were under the cameras. We were just basically doing what we would normally do anywhere else.
I think it would have gotten better if you guys actually got an agreement on the hand signals. That's where it was confusing. Cody. But it worked well, though. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to give it another shot next week, guys. And I want to thank everybody for being part of this tonight and part of every part of Dead Air Full Spectrum. I want to thank you guys for joining us. This is our extended show. We are going to head on out at this point in time. You guys don't click off the show yet. But Ken, you want to go ahead and do a closing for us? That would be wonderful. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight again. Happy New Year to everyone. Have a safe 2023, and we'll be back next week, same time. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely. Good night, y'all. And Sandy, have your daughter get a hold of us if you ever want to take that trip.
There you go.
So, okay.